Are we ready to get started? Oh. Yeah, here you go. Okay, getting a lot of feedback. Everyone can hit mute. We're good?
Try it again.
Okay, test. Yeah, it's a little better. Okay, let's go ahead and get our meeting started for this evening. This is the June 24th meeting of the Little Rock Planning Commission. If you are here for the lottery opening, this is the wrong meeting. With that, let's go ahead and start with a roll call and finding of a quorum.
Roll call. Craig Berry.
Here.
Harold Bedden. Here. Derek Brooks.
Present. Present.
Thank you. Scott Hamilton.
Present.
Todd Hart.
Here.
Marlon Haynes.
Present.
Robin Ramon.
Present.
Diana Thomas.
Present.
Michael Vickers.
Present.
Robbie Vogel. Here. We have a quorum.
Okay, great. All right, with that, let's go ahead and start with our consent agenda.
You do have a set of minutes from May 13th.
I'm sorry, yeah. Has everyone received a copy of the minutes from the May 13th meeting? Had a chance to review? Any comments or questions or concerns, additions, changes? Hearing none, we'll take a motion to approve the minutes from May 13th.
So moved.
Okay, got a motion. Yeah, how about a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call vote.
Berry.
Yes.
Benton.
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Haynes.
Yes.
Ramon.
Yes.
Thomas. Thomas. Vickers.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
Minutes are approved.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, then we now will move into the consent agenda for June 24.
Following is a consent agenda for the Little Rock Planning Commission, June 24th, 2021. We have one item on consent withdrawal, item A, file number Z9577. This is the Dunn multi-sectional manufactured home CUP, 11305 Sardis Road. The applicant contacted staff and requested this application to be withdrawn, and staff supports that request. You also have one item on consent deferral, item C, Z5817K, Cantrell West Retail Center, PCD, 15122 Cantrell Road. The applicant submitted a letter to staff on June 1st requesting this application be deferred to the August 12th Planning Commission agenda. Staff supports that request. Next are the items on consent approval. Item B, Z9298A, Stevens Laundromat, conditional use permit, 8420 Scott Hamilton Drive. Staff recommends approval of the requested CUP and associated driveway variance, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F, and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. Item 2, S1424K, Sienna Lake, Phase 3, Block 3, preliminary plat, southwestern corner of Sienna Lake Drive and Westlake Lane. Staff recommends approval of the proposed preliminary plat, subject to compliance with the conditions and comments outlined in paragraphs D and E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item number 3, Z9578, the Anthony School conditional use permit, 7711, 7715, and 7717 Ohio Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested CUP and associated driveway spacing variance, subject to compliance with the conditions and comments as outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F, and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item number 4, Z9584, LA Holdings LLC duplex, conditional use permit, 3004 South Izzard Street, Staff recommends approval of the requested CUP, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D and E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. Item number 5, Z 9586, Stevensville Park duplexes, conditional use permit, south side of West 15th Street between Valmar Street and Brown Street. This item was moved from the regular agenda to consent approval based on the fact that the applicant did revise the application and is now proposing shared driveways for the duplex lots. And that was the only issue that was outstanding for staff. And because of that revision, staff now recommends approval of the requested CUP, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as outlined in paragraph D and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. And the final item on consent approval is item number 6, Z 8181A, PDP Creations LLC accessory dwelling conditional use permit, 5120 F Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested CUP and associated variance, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions as noted in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report. That concludes the consent agenda.
Okay, commissioners, any comments or questions about the consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll ask for a
Yes.
motion. Oh, sorry.
This is Commissioner Brooks. Yes, I have a question on item B, Z 9298. Is the applicant available? I'm just interested in to know why they're wanting to put another laundromat there. There's already one on Scott Hamilton. And so if the applicant is able to speak, if he's there, or maybe if staff know.
Okay, if you could approach the podium, please. Thank you. State your name. Commissioner Brooks, can you hear okay?
I need to have this on or,
Yes, sir, I can.
It's your choice, yeah.
the owner purchased the property. It's a industrial use for the property. All we're really trying to do is put a lesser industrial type of property on there. He owns laundromats and he thought it'd be a good location for another laundromat.
Okay, I understand that, but there's one that's already on that street, right there on the corner of Scott Hamilton. So I'm just trying to find out, just trying to think through this, for the reason of wanting to put another one right there.
Just thought it'd be a good location.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Commissioner Brooks, any other questions or information?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions, comments on the consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, motion for approval.
I move that we approve the consent agenda together with all staff comments and conditions.
Okay, we have a motion. How about a second? Second. Motion and second. How about a roll call vote?
Barry,
Aye.
Benton,
Yes.
Brooks,
No, I have a question. If I vote no on item B, the Z 9298, does that, how do I differentiate that from all the other agenda items?
We'll have to go through a normal approval process.
No,
I think we do, because that would be it.
Mr. Overton, this is Jamie Collins. Could you chime in on Mr. Brooks' question as regarding he does not want to vote on one item on the consent agenda for? Can he split that vote out as against, but the rest of them for?
Okay, and the specific reason for not wanting to vote is what now?
Because there's already a laundromat in that area on that same street.
Okay,
Yeah, as I understand it, Commissioner Brooks wants to not vote in support of this particular item, but all of the other consent items seems to be. Okay, so I think that's the issue. Would it need to be pulled and put on the regular agenda?
Regular agenda, yeah.
and be heard, I think, yes, I think it should be pulled and heard. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
agree, Jamie?
I would, to make the record clear, that I would say yes, so we could vote on the regular agenda or the consent items and then just move right onto that island and vote separately on that one.
Do we need an action to pull that from consent agenda?
Just a
I
minute.
would think
Yeah.
that would require a vote.
We'll just pull it and then bring it right back up.
Okay, all right.
So does the same motion stand because the consent agenda is still everything but the item we just pulled off of it?
Just qualify your vote for the consent agenda without item B.
Okay. So I move that we accept the consent agenda together with all staff comments and conditions, except for item B, which is removed.
Okay, we have a motion. How about a second? Second. Okay, motion and second. Roll call vote.
Barry,
Aye.
Benton,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Ramon,
Yes.
Thomas,
yes,
Vickers,
Yes.
Vogel, Vogel,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay.
Yes, if you can hear me.
Okay, yeah, we got you, Vogel. Let's see, if you're in the audience and your item was in the consent agenda, you're welcome to stay or you're welcome to leave just as well. Okay, so moving into the regular agenda, we're going to be adding item,
Right, if you, I think we were looking at maybe just going straight to a vote unless anyone has any questions on item B.
yeah,
It's a Z 9298A, Stevens Laundromat, conditional use permit, 8420 Scott Hamilton Drive.
okay, are there any more comments or on this particular item? Hearing none, we'll accept the motion.
Hold on, is that the right process to go to bypass the normal presentation of a regular agenda item and then go directly to the vote? Or do we have to actually go through the formality of a presentation with the opportunity to respond in the vote?
Oh, you don't have to unless you want to do it.
I don't, I just want to make,
It's-
yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah, you can just, we pull it from the consent agenda, just so, Director Brooks or Commissioner Brooks could just vote no on it. That's the only reason. So.
Okay. So, I'll move that we accept this agenda item B,
Yeah,
together with all staff comments and conditions, including their recommendation of approval.
okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, any questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll move for a vote.
Barry,
Aye.
Benton,
Yes.
Brooks,
No.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Ramon,
Yes.
Thomas,
no,
Vickers,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, the next item we have on the regular agenda is item number 1, S-1897.
Item number 1 is the Carter Lane Estates subdivision preliminary plat located at 4109 Carter Lane. The applicant proposes to subdivide this 4.932 acres into 16 lots and 3 tracts for single-family residential development. The property is zoned R2 and is located at the south end of Carter Lane, south of Taylor Loop Road. The property currently contains 2 single-family residences, a commercial building and associated accessory structures. A narrow creek runs north-south through the center of the property. All of the proposed lots will be final platted in one phase. The proposed lots will range in size from 0.157 acre to 0.326 acre. The applicant is proposing the following minimum building setbacks for the proposed lots: front and rear setbacks of 15 feet and side setbacks of 5 feet. Sections 36-254 D1 through D3 of the City of Little Rock zoning ordinance requires minimum front setbacks of 25 feet, minimum rear setbacks of 25 feet, and minimum side setbacks of 8 feet or 10% of the width of the lot for R2 zone properties. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow reduced building setbacks as proposed, and staff does support that variance. The proposed lots will be accessed by a cul-de-sac street from Carter Lane. The proposed street will be approximately 520 feet long and 26 feet of paved roadway width within a 50-foot right-of-way. Tracks A and B will contain the area of the creek and be located on the north and south sides of the proposed roadway. Tract A will contain 0.122 acre and Tract B will contain 0.126 acre. Tract C, which will be located within the center of the cul-de-sac area, will contain 0.049 acre. A United States Postal Service kiosk for mail delivery will be located within Tract C, and all the tracts will be maintained privately by a PRA. The applicant submitted the drainage analysis along with the preliminary drainage study. The applicant proposes to improve the existing creek channel and install drainage infrastructure on the main creek channel to pass the 100-year flood storm event. The applicant proposes a minimum finished floor elevations on the adjacent lots to be 1 foot or more above the predicted 100-year flood elevation. The preliminary storm drainage complies with ordinance standards. The applicant is requesting an advanced grading variance in order to grade the 4 lots adjacent to the creek with the grading for the street improvements. After working through a sketch grading and drainage plan for Carter Lane Estates and developing a 100-year base flood elevation, the applicant has determined the need to request a variance to allow the advanced grading on these 4 lots, which need fill to accommodate a finished floor elevation 1 foot above the 100-year base flood through the site. Staff supports the variance request. Submittal of a final grading and drainage plan along with an erosion control plan is required prior to issuance of a grading permit. Alteration of the water course will require approval from the Little Rock District of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers prior to issuance of a grading permit. To staff's knowledge, there are not standing issues related to this preliminary plat request. The applicant's done a good job in addressing issues as raised by staff during staff's review of this plat. The subdividing of this property should have no adverse impact on the surrounding properties. Staff recommends approval of the proposed plat and associated setback variances, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D and E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Okay, let's see. We've got several comments on this particular item, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'll remind you that you have 20 minutes per side, those opposed and those for. Looks like the only comments I have thus far are comments that are opposed. Does anyone else have any green cards by chance that want to speak on this particular item? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and get started. Looks like the first person I've got listed is Tyler. Is it Valser?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, you want the applicant to approach the lectern
guess we
for
didn't
the
do that.
presentation and whatnot?
That would be fair. Is the applicant present? Okay, yeah. If you could approach the podium and state your name and then share with us what you would about this particular project. Thank you.
Mark Rudder with Holloway Engineering.
Okay, yeah, if you want to describe the proposed project, or if you'd like, you could defer and listen to any opposition and then.
Well, the only thing that I probably want to say is that I think a fair amount of the green cards are in response to drainage. And we've attempted to address the adjacent subdivision drainage, the subdivision to the east, by installing a pipe that will help alleviate their issues. We've installed this pipe on the east side of our subdivision. My understanding, they've got a drainage pipe that is either collapsed or partially collapsed or plugged, and that's causing a lot of drainage to pile up in the flatlands. And so this attempts to address that, which isn't something that we actually had to address, but being a good neighbor, I think it's a good choice. So yes, I'll reserve the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, sorry, getting back to the opposition. Tyler, I think it's Valser, Vawser. Okay, thank you. Let's see, the next name I have is Sylvia Delsa.
I can't hear.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so you'd like to defer as well. Okay. Next name I have is Michael Keck. You approach the podium, state your name.
For those that know me well enough, I have never deferred an opportunity to speak. So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate each one of you and your service to our city. Before I begin my remarks, I would like to point out we need a better effort in regards to notification. First of all, the notice that I received said this was not for 16, but for 49 lots. So that may have generated a lot of interest to start off with. And then secondly, for today, we were directed to a different building on a different part of campus. And so if there's people wandering around trying to find this meeting and maybe miss it, I just want to make sure everyone was aware. A little more than 15 years ago, my wife and I purchased property and built a home in Madison Valley. I knew exactly what I was buying and I knew what was behind me. The land use plan and zoning was for R2. All I really hoped for was a high quality residential development. Over time, I became aware of issues that my neighbors were experiencing due to flooding. That's why I was excited 10 years ago when the city placed the Madison Valley Drainage Project as a part of the list of things to be done as a part of the sales tax election. While we would have liked for it to have been done sooner, it's currently a part of the third cycle to be done, hopefully alleviating some of this. I'm very concerned that the drainage that's been discussed and proposed is not being done in coordination and in collaboration with what the city has stated that it's going to do. The work is yet to be done. It's been identified as a priority for this ward, and to be included in a sales tax election knows the value that it's been placed on it. As that creek flows, it's my concern that what will happen is instead of making things better, we'll make things worse. I'm also concerned about the level of grading that has been asked to be done. And I'm also concerned that in the request that's made, there is no discussion about preservation of any of the trees that are on that property. It's very important to me that we take a good look at what's being done here, not necessarily because it's horrible, the design, or that an R2 project is horrible in and of itself. No, quite the opposite. That's what people want adjacent to their neighborhood or other homes. Unless it makes things worse in the neighborhood, and that is our fear. So what I would like to ask today is that we hold on to this, defer it. Let's provide some time for some collaboration with Public Works, with property owners in the area, and with developers, to where if we can see if we can get a coordinated approach that answers this in totality, rather this in bits and pieces, because I'm afraid in bits and pieces, we won't find a solution. In fact, we'll find something that makes it worse. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next person that I have listed is Karen DePippa. You approach the podium, state your name, and share with us your thoughts and comments.
I'm Karen DePippa, and I'd like to also reiterate the green space consideration. We moved into our house 11 years ago, and since that time, we've had our front yard clear cut, and we have some properties to the east that are approaching our eastern side of the house. So I would just like to emphasize that if we are going to have family housing in that area, green space is critical. There have been studies, Dr. Benton can probably also back this up, that show that children that live in green space areas have higher achievement scores. they have lower respiratory diseases. That doesn't even count the air pollution, the energy use, light pollution that comes from adding new clear-cut spaces. So I would like to really request leave as much green space as possible. My second concern is the road. If the entrance and exit is the cul-de-sac onto Carter Lane, and we have a representative who's going to go in this further, but I want to mention that that's our only entrance and exit to get out of our home is onto Carter Lane. Small road, was not built to withstand the traffic that will incur. With 16 properties that you mentioned, the minimum car use will be at least 2 per household, most likely 4. So I just want you to consider that you're not thinking about just adding 16 vehicles, but we're adding most likely 64 and upwards with visitation, with all of the heavy equipment that needs to go on that road. So I just would like to consider that issue as well. And I'd like to defer now for the rest of the speakers to have.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, the next name I have is John Burnett. John Burnett. Yeah, approach the podium, state your name, and share with us your thoughts.
Thank you. I am John Burnett. I'm a retired realtor. I was in the real estate business 47 years. And our neighborhood has asked me to sort of represent them in their opposition to the subdivision as it is designed right now. It's not that this is his 3rd subdivision that's come to our neighborhood in the last 10 years. And we've got another one standing by as soon as the present one that we're speaking toward today happens. This is a traditional neighborhood of 2.5 to 5 acre tracts. Be that as it may, we have no POA to set standards and so forth. So we realize that some people are wanting to develop more properties. Our issues are the density. I think you can pretty well just say the density of this proposed subdivision is not only out of character with the neighborhood, but we think that it will exacerbate problems that we already have. And that is street. Mr. Pippa just described this as a 1,600-foot street that ends at the proposed development property. It ends right there. It won't go any farther. The land on the other side of the street is owned by Deltic, Potlatch Deltic. They have a subdivision already set there. There are no streets that continue into Carter Lane. So the point I'm making is that is the only exit in and out to a main collector street. There are no intersections. Our garbage trucks, our emergency vehicles often have to back in or back down the street. There's no place to turn around. In 2010, we had a subdivision that was planned and okayed. In 2010, that subdivision had 19 lots. However, only 5 of those lots were to have access to Carter Lane. Carter Lane is 18 feet wide. A regulation street's 25 feet. So that tells you we can hardly pass each other on that street to begin with. So when you start adding more and more and more and more traffic to it, either the city or somebody's going to have to come take that street, and we think that ought to be done before any further intensity development is done. I had a whole thing of notes to talk to about the drainage, but that has already been talked to, and in a matter of time, I won't go into that much. But I know that there was a study in 2014 that looked at the drainage in this particular basin because of the big development to the south of us, which is the Deltic property. There is a 122-acre subdivision planned up there. It dead ends into Carter Lane and into Madison Valley subdivision. There are numerous creeks all along that property and our property. We have creeks on both sides running parallel to Carter Lane. They overflow all the time, and you can say, I appreciate the fact that drainage has been studied, but the 2014 study confirmed that we had a flooding property to the north because everything goes toward the river, which is north. Apparently, not enough has been done to alleviate that because it still floods. We had a flood about 2 weeks ago when we had that hard rain. This intensity of development is what we are opposing. It hurts our street. It hurts the character of the neighborhood. It affects downstream drainage. And we're not even sure this is going to be sewered because we've had sewer problems out there too. That just a few months ago, they raised the caps to the sewer in our street out there. So anyway, this is a very complicated situation. It's not as simple as most people are making it to be. That's our opposition to it, and if I can answer any questions, I'll try. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, there were several deferred comments. Would anyone? Okay. Do it, please approach the podium, state your name, and share with us your comments.
5 minutes remain.
Okay, we got 7.5 minutes total. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Sylvia Delsa. I live in Madison Valley subdivision, what abuts this proposal, as well as we abut the Deltic project that's going on. We have several things. I'm going to just kind of touch base real quick on them. The drainage is the biggest problem. As the engineer for this project said, while they're being gracious in what they're going to do, they are, and his word was, attempting to resolve it. It's not a solution, it's an attempt. The city of Little Rock had a proposal to fix the drainage problem we already have in Madison Valley. And that proposal has been sideways, and they're telling me it has to be reevaluated again. One individual who owns several pieces along this Carter Lane is well aware of the drainage problems along there because he was involved with the Madison Valley with the Deltic project that's going on. And we had several meetings with the Deltic attorney, not only in his office, but in my home with the Madison Valley POA members and the Deltic attorney, as well as many telephone conversations. It was acknowledged there was a drainage problem in this project that they haven't was supposed to put in retention ponds. We haven't seen any of that yet. Now, with their grading of upgrading these lots that are proposed, that's going to help those lots. It's not helping anybody else along Carter Lane or on Hannah. And if anything, it's only being required of this proposal. So it'll take care of the short-term, not wide flow drainage problems. When there's a heavy rain and this pipe he's talking about they're putting in, it's only going to make the water spread out more to the lots to the north of this proposal. It's really not going to resolve the problem. It's just spreading the water and making it go further. So if the city thinks that the Madison Valley proposal that was done 2 or 3 years ago is on hold, then maybe they need to go back and reconsider looking at that and get that drainage problem resolved that's already existing. The second thing we have is that we would like to have a natural barrier between this project and along the Hannah Lane of 5 to 10 feet. Don't take down those natural trees that are there and replace them with 5-foot trees that'll take forever to grow if they grow. There needs to be the natural barrier there. And traffic is a continuing issue. You all keep approving all these projects in that area along LaMarche, along Taylor Loop. You keep putting in these little subdivisions where they can hand each other pizza through their windows. It's causing more traffic. You've done nothing about Taylor Loop and LaMarche. There's a stop sign there. Come out there in the morning and sit there. Don't put a counter. Come see how they run in that stop sign, including the school buses. Come see how they do roll-throughs. They're not stopping. The people are flying down LaMarche because it's nice and hilly. They think they're in a raceway. It's great. They get that little speed out of themselves. Taylor Loop is collecting extra traffic because people are avoiding Cantrell because of all the construction on Cantrell by 4:30, as well as they don't want to deal with Cantrell and Rawlings. So they cut across Taylor Loop to Henson and then come over. You all need to look at past projects you've approved, this project, and once you approve this one, I promise you, all those other people that own that acreage along Coeur Lane are waiting in the wing to get their project approved. And there's also a discrepancy in the size of this lot for this proposal. The tax office says that lot is only 4.3 acres, and this proposal is reflecting 4.9 acres. So there's a half an acre difference somewhere. Somebody's books aren't right. And that needs to be looked into also. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else want to make? Okay, time, we got 3 minutes. Yep, if you would please approach the podium and state your name and comments.
My name is Tyler Vosser. I also live in Madison Valley. My property abuts this property. This is more of an anecdote. During COVID, we all were locked in our houses quite a bit. And my kids, 4 kids, we actually walk every day in our neighborhoods. And my kids beg to go down the country road. And while this just looks like a blueprint to many of you, my kids call it the country road because it's a small road, right? It's shaded by trees and they enjoy walking that. And when we tell them, oh, let's go walk in another part of the neighborhood, they say, no, there's too many cars, it's too busy. Someone earlier spoke about, 2 cars per house, and that's usually the plan, or maybe 1. And then she said 4. There are some houses in this street that have 6 or 7 cars. So I really do believe that we're not talking about just a small number of cars, but quite a few. The road is so small, in fact, that when we walk this road that we have to pull to the side with our stroller, and people are friendly. We enjoy getting to meet them because it's so small that they have to slow down. But this would all change, right? So I think in accordance with other people, what they've said, we're not opposed to something. It's just the density, the amount of it, and the speed at which this is moving. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners. Well, I'm sorry.
I was one of the people that went to the wrong building. I've
Okay.
lived on Carter Lane for 31 years. I'd like to speak, if I may.
Okay, if you would, we've got just a few minutes. If you could just state your name and.
Ramona Riva, 4301 Carter Lane.
Okay, thank
We
you.
want to speak about the character and the investments we've made in our homes. Several of these homes are gated. We have an iron gated fence, entrance, security, swimming pools. We've put a lot of money into our property and we are fighting this continuously. This is my daughter with me. I've lived, she was raised there. Our grandchildren play in the creek that they're trying to destroy. There are fish in that creek. It is meandering, beautiful. They want to dig ditches around and it's just unsightly. And we don't speak about the value of our homes, but I can tell you, I've been offered over and over substantial amounts to move. And we don't want to move. This is our home. And we are hoping that everyone would fall in line. These neighborhoods are horrific. And we've seen these little small neighborhoods with no, like she said, you can hand a pizza between them. I am emotional about this because my children will inherit my land. We will not move. And it is, I ask each of you to drive down and look at these homes and look at what we're trying to create there. My husband was prepared to speak. He got called into surgery. He is not here because of that, but we are emphatic that we don't want to destroy this green space. Little Rock does not need to be without trees. And as far as Taylor Loop goes, the flooding happens already on Taylor Loop and the traffic is horrendous. I have seen children almost get run over so many times because of people racing to Don Roberts to pick up their children. And we have constantly told children, get out of the street, get out of the street, it's not safe. This is a neighborhood. These people that are trying to develop the end of West Rock have not lived there, I would say, at least 15. They've abandoned the property. The property next to our home is next in line. It was Richard Calder, the architect for TCBY. It was his mother's home. He built a beautiful mid-century modern home around it, around his mother's home. When he passed away, the home went on the market for $760,000. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home. These are nice homes. This neighborhood that they're proposing does not fit. And that's pretty much what I want to say. And I'm sorry if I'm emotional. I wasn't prepared. I'm speaking for my husband. But this is a beautiful street. And everyone that walks down that street appreciates the beauty. We don't need to destroy every bit of green space in West Little Rock. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, would the applicant like to return to the podium and certainly respond to or share any additional information you'd like?
Sure, and I appreciate a lot of the comments and concerns. Obviously, a lot of them address problems that exist already and have existed for many years. And it's really, there's no way that we can address that. And especially the items that are within the city of Little Rock jurisdiction, such as road improvements, drainage improvements or corrections, drainage maintenance, those types of issues. We've worked very closely with Little Rock as far as this channel goes. It's designed to handle the 100-year flow and complies with everything that a subdivision is required to do. Obviously, the 4+ acres isn't going to impact this community very much at all. We feel like this is something that should go forward, and it seems to be correct for it. And I understand that some of the property values are higher than this would potentially be, but that's the case any place you develop. And especially when, you know, the zoning ordinance is something that's of record. So I don't really know what else to do about that, but, you know, we've done what we can in this subdivision. So that's really all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any thoughts, questions, or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Public Works here today.
Yes.
Amy,
I believe Vince Floriani is here. Did you want to ask probably about the project that you're talking about?
but in terms of drainage and because hydraulics seems to be a big point, and of course, city staff has looked at that, and I want to hear Public Works comments on that.
Well, I want to, Vince is here, I believe, or Ilona, they can speak to it, but just to remind the commission, over a year ago, we passed ordinances that shifts all that drainage and stuff over to planning and development.
Oh, okay, good.
So.
Well, my comment, then my question is to you. Sorry, I
It is-
didn't know how that was handled. Okay.
So he is here, and
Well-
we've been trying to get some of that information transferred over, but if there was a drainage that was done in that area for that, especially when they done Taylor Loop, and also for Gooch Drive down through there. I can't speak for what was talked about on that Madison Heights drainage deal. Vince, did you make it to the podium?
Mike's at the podium.
Mike's at the podium? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see Mike come in. So I guess Mike can give the address on the status of that. That was their concern.
Yes, I'm Mike Hood with the Public Works Department. This has been studied a lot, this particular drainage behind and around Carter Lane, the adjacent Madison Valley, and the developments all around there. The last time the city itself studied it was when we did improvements on Taylor Loop. And at that time, we did a rather exhaustive study of the multiple drainage ways that come off the hill, the mountain behind here, the land that was referenced early on by Potlatch-Deltic, and go through this general area. The drain we're looking at right now is supposed to go down Gooch Lane and cross under a large box culvert at Taylor Loop. The reality of it is these old, I guess you'd say country lots, these rather large wooded lots, a lot of them are fairly flat, and the drainage breaks up into different rivulets and kind of goes everywhere in a big storm. Essentially, that's somewhat what the problem is. The folks along the eastern side of Madison Valley have had incidents of yard flooding that's pretty severe, to the point that it was within inches of getting onto the floor of homes. That's very unfortunate, and the city has funded a project to do construction and hopefully alleviate at least some of that for the people in Madison Valley. And the solution of it ultimately is going to be to construct some additional drainage conveyances to get water back where it belongs. The drainage kind of splits there. Part of this water was studied and meant to go down Gooch Lane, but part of the water right now is going over towards Madison Valley that really shouldn't be there. There's other drainage that goes into and through Madison Valley from the south, so we are aware of a lot of those situations. Our project will probably go to construction late this year and at the worst early next year to try to do some work in the area.
Thanks, Mike. Additional question while you're up. The Master Street Plan, Public Works is responsible for that. Is that correct? Nope, you are. So for city staff then, I'll ask generically, for the circulation on the Master Street Plan, is there any streets that will come out of this in the future for any subdivision development? I don't have the Master Street Plan ahead of me. So
I pulled it up.
Yeah.
Mr. Berry, Lamarche was always proposed on the Master Street Plan for a north-south connector for a collector, and Taylor Loop was proposed for a collector. And that's why they spoke about the connection that was made. The city actually made that as one of our projects that we've done. And we've also redone, and Taylor Loop was also improved. There's a bike lane that was also supposed to be on Lamarche. And I believe that one is a separate one. And I believe the one on Taylor was a share row. Mike, was that correct? Was it a share row or totally separate?
I think it's a mix of both, isn't it? It's a mix of bike lanes and sharrows.
The intent is both of those to be collectors, to actually go back in and tie a bike lane onto Rawling and to Taylor Loop to go back through. So the intent was all that to be a collector through there. So the roads are at a collector width standard down through there. Now the intersection that they spoke of, that is the intersection of Taylor Loop and Lamarche. And it has went through, I think, two iterations because during construction, and right now it is a stop controlled intersection. For that, I cannot speak for whether cars are running through them or buses are running through those deal, but the school is right north of that intersection for that. And there is a lot of traffic that comes in at that school time.
Sure, thanks. I was wondering with the undeveloped land south, directly south of Carter, what the master street plan has. Carter will always be a dead-end street. Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct. There wasn't any proposed larger street connecting either east-west or north-south between LaMarche and Rawling. The master street plan is just collectors and above. And then the residential that comes in, we tried to connect based upon other residential neighborhoods when they come in to make some good connections to tie back into the collectors. But for right now, there is nothing proposed on the south.
Thank you.
I have a few questions for staff, and it's mostly just me making sure I understand what we're doing in my head. So it's like yes, no type of thing. This is a preliminary plat, right? That's what we're approving.
Right.
And the variances that they're seeking don't really, there are variances, but that's not why they're here. They're here because it's a preliminary plat and we have to approve it. Is that, or am I wrong about that?
Yeah, you're there for a preliminary plat, but the variances are part of your approval.
But they don't, they had to come no matter what. The variances don't change that.
Yes, any preliminary plat will still come before the planning commission.
Okay, so the variances are part of it, but they're not the reason they're here. When you're evaluating this from the staff's perspective and deciding whether to recommend approval or denial, you look at the proposed plat and figure out whether it's in the character of the neighborhood, whether the number of subdivided pieces of property would be in keeping with the neighborhood, or is there a different consideration?
Well, the preliminary plat is a technical review.
Mhm.
Property zoned R2 single family. The applicant is proposing single family lots. So when a person proposes to subdivide a lot, is a technical review, and we look at the ordinance and what the ordinance requires for subdividing property for R2, lot widths, depths, the minimum lot areas, those kind of things is that's what's looked at in review of it.
So that's important. So if the ordinance, when you review the ordinance and the proposal is consistent with what is required by the ordinance, then that is there's not really any subjective analysis. It's objectively, it fits the ordinance. Therefore, it is an approvable plat.
Correct. It's not a use issue.
It's not a use issue.
Correct.
Okay. So here what we have is an objective determination that the number of proposed subdivided plat or units is within the ordinance and can be sustained and everything. So then the only question left for us is whether the variances. So this is where I get a little hazy.
If you wanted to vote against this plat, you would need to do so because you don't agree with the variances.
Okay, that's where I get hazy is. Yeah. It's really, now it's just a question of whether we agree subjectively about the variances.
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk about the variances a little bit. So to me, what I heard are objections about how heavy the use was, but based on the ordinance, it sounds like that's not something for us to really decide about.
The minimum lot size in R2 is 6,000 square feet. All of these lots are larger than that. Single family zoning, typically allows up to around 6 units or 6 lots per acre.
Right.
This one comes in well under that at about 3 1/4 lots per acre. So the lot sizes are fine. In this particular case, the applicant has just decided that they want to put the houses up closer to the front property line. 25 is typically allowed. They want to do 15. So they're requesting reduced setbacks for the buildings.
Okay. And the advanced grading is that a common, I mean, I see it all the time, so presumably it is common in these types of.
Yeah, a lot of times with single family subdivisions, even a lot larger than this, they will want to grade the entire subdivision with the infrastructure. In this particular one, they want to grade the lots next to where the drainage area is to build those lots up to get them to the minimum required finished floor elevation.
Okay. And then just one more piece for my brain. If they were to remove those variances from the request, would there be any basis for the planning commission to deny the use?
No.
Mr. Chairman, can we get back to the hydraulics of this? Mike, can you come back up just for a second? I want to, in the write-up, and I've heard the neighbors and their issues with respect to trees and lot sizes and traffic, and I feel like a lot of those things have been addressed by the developer, and I'm satisfied with our staff's evaluation of that. But I just keep coming back to the water component of this, and the fact that the city has a plan in place. I'm assuming that's already been engineered and it's going to be put in place to fix specific things about this area. And then when I look at our staff's write-up, like item number 6, we don't see this much in staff write-ups, but it says documented flooding issues exist downstream. And then in paragraph 19, due to documented flooding downstream in Madison Valley, provide a 20-foot public drainage easement. So I want to be completely comfortable that what is being proposed, the development, any development at all, is helping the issue and not exacerbating the issue. And then I'd kind of like to understand how the development prior to the city's improvements, how that works. It seems like the city would make their improvements and then we would put the subdivision in. Can you speak to that a little bit, Mike, or whoever's appropriate to speak to it?
Sure. There's a lot of parts there. This development, I would say, is not going to make anything worse, but it is not going to solve some of the problems for the people to the north. The water at this direction is flowing to the north, and the worst problems we have heard from actually occur to the property to the north of this, the adjacent property. What the applicant is proposing is through his property to channelize that little creek there. So at least on his property, that creek isn't getting out and running over to somebody else, at least at that location. And also what is proposed is a drain pipe going along the Madison Valley backyards along this subdivision to help catch that water and make sure that what's there has a place to go and has a place to drain. But it is not completely solving the problem downstream. Now, we've had several different ideas, staff has, and we've got a design engineer. We've hired outside firm because we've got too much to do, so many projects going on. But we have studied this some more and had some different proposals. So far, the adjacent property owner to the south has not liked our proposals, and we're still looking at options. But we do have the ability to fully fund the project, and we do intend to carry that out, which is going to help the situation for everybody else down along Madison Valley.
Mike, where does that work take place? The city project along the creek? Are we down more toward Taylor Loop?
It is just mostly the adjacent property and maybe even the one after that. It is where that street, that east-west street comes in, and I don't know the name of it from here, but it's along that area. Where Madison Valley kind of makes a little bend there at the street, you know, the little knob, the little knuckle. That's where we've documented that there are problems.
In your opinion, would it be, if you were in the perfect world, would you let the city do their project and do their fix first and then do the development, or does it just not matter which goes in first?
In this instance, I really honestly think it's not going to make a difference, because our solution may have been to channelize that creek, but that creek's all on private property. We would have had to bought easements. We had to spend public money. In this instance, some of that is already being done.
Okay, thank you.
If I could, real quick, could I just address Commissioner Ramon's comments? The main reasoning for the variances is to make the buildable area bigger so you can get the lots.
Let me see if there are any other commissioner comments, and then we'll take a look at it. Any other commissioner comments or questions?
Yes, I got a question for Mr. Hood.
If I may have a moment, the creek, the solution they're referring to is they want to dig a 20-foot wide ditch along the back of my property. And I have been at a meeting before, about a year ago or more before COVID, where I pointed out Madison Valley developer, and we have our engineer who lives in our neighborhood. I don't know if he's here or not. He stated, it is well known that the developer in Madison Valley did not solve the water problem when they built those homes. Those homes were built after I lived there. There was a horse farm. All that water comes our way. And we're fine with that because we have our creek, but we are not okay with a 20-foot wide ditch when they have a 10-foot easement in the back of their yards that could be used to solve the problem. So we are not okay with destroying our green space to solve a problem that the Madison Valley developer should have solved initially. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Vickers.
Well, I was going to just address, obviously, I think I was going to address the ETA. I know the city was talking about fulfilling that and getting that drainage sewage pretty much done. But I wanted to know more or less what was the ETA on that. I know it's not a definite. And then also, one of the neighbors were speaking of the houses and the houses that they're building is not going to be up to par with other houses in the neighborhood. So I just wanted to know more of a detail of square footage size, basically how they're building basically the houses. One of the neighbors mentioned that these houses are not going to be on par with the other houses. So I just wanted some a little bit more better, clearer vision of understanding exactly on what they're actually putting up. What is the product that they're putting up? To be more, I guess, on par with the other houses out there.
Okay, so I think two questions. One, ETA on completion of is it the biggest
of the new subdivision that's coming up.
Okay.
I would say it'd go to construction next year.
Okay.
We had hoped it'd been sooner, but I don't see that it's going to make it.
Is there
Should have designs done toward the end of this year and then be ready to prepare the bid package.
Okay.
That's for the city work he's speaking.
Yes, I believe that's
Okay, yeah.
what I was to address.
I thought he was asking about the subdivision ETA.
Yeah, I wanted the applicant to come up and talk about more of the subdivision of what
Okay,
the
the actual
product
subdivision. Okay.
was going to be coming up, such as, minimum square footage size, what type of product is going to be going out there comparative to the other houses that are already out there. Because I know one of the neighbors addressed it and said this is going to be pretty much subpar of the houses that are already out there. It could hurt the valuation of the current homes that are out there.
And Commissioner Vickers, I think the timing is a perfect question. I don't know that the size and design of the property is appropriate for this form.
Yeah, I can answer the size. The size of the homes is limited to the setbacks as approved by the commission. The cost of a home are not a item that needs to be discussed at the commission. Value of these is something that we do not consider. The attorney's office may opine on that if he chooses to, but definitely we can talk about the timing of it. So if you're looking at the maximum square footage, Mr. Vickers, it would be whatever the setback would allow. They're allowed to build up to the maximum at the setback for the maximum height allowed in that type of zoning.
Yes, most of it is based on ordinance and obviously, given the let's just say, hot market that there is out there for housing right now. There's a great need, and it's our desire to get going as quick as possible, especially given the drier months. It's something that we want to get going right away.
Thank you.
Sure. So I got a question for Mr. Hood.
Yes.
Scott, my question, Mr. Hood, he mentioned that this property, I know that a lot of the homeowners are saying, talking about the flooding issues, but can Mr. Hood repeat that once this property that they actually build and that it won't affect any of those other neighborhoods? I think he mentioned that it would not affect any of the other neighborhoods, but it won't improve theirs, but it will. But this property is being built to where it can contain whatever issues they have with flooding in their area. Can Mr. Hood address that one more time?
Sure. It may even be useful if we had a graphic or something up, but what happens is the water that goes in that little creek down along towards Gooch gets out of its banks and goes everywhere. And in effect, that's the nature of the problem. You have a lot of water coming down off the mountainside into the old creek channel, and it naturally wants to meander around, and it's meandering around and filling up people's yards and getting dangerously close to floors. Now, that happens all along the length of Madison Valley. As you're looking there, you know, Madison Valley's immediately to the east, to your right, and then to the left, we've got a proposed development that's going on. So as you can see, this isn't the whole problem because it's all along Madison Valley there. But at least what they're doing isn't going to solve everything, but it's not going to make it any worse.
Okay, that's what I need to make sure. I just want to make sure it wasn't going to solve anything, because I think homeowners are looking at this.
There's more that needs to be done, and the city does have an allocation for project.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I think what's the homeowners there are looking at the developers to solve the city's problem instead of just the developer actually working on their project. So that's all I want to address.
Okay.
May I just make a couple of comments?
Certainly, go ahead.
All right. Something's a little cockeyed here. I'm not, if the ordinance states on a subdivision and that subdivision meets all the ordinance requirements, then you have nothing to say about it. However, that sounds a little bit foreign in the fact that you can't put a subdivision in an isolated place just because it complies with the ordinance. This street will not handle these things. The sewer is not handling. You see that we talked about infinitum about the drainage. So I don't understand the statement that says if the subdivision meets the ordinance, there's nothing you can do about it. That doesn't make good sense.
Mr. Chair, I thought the court has decided pretty much, other than the variance, that if you propose a preliminary plat that meets ordinance, that our review is perfunctory, basically, no matter where it's located.
That would be a correct statement, yes. Okay, we're certainly out of time.
I think, Chair, this is Robbie
Yes,
Vogel.
Commissioner, go ahead.
I think it's time we make a motion as to if we would like to approve this as presented, or if I think that's the motion I'd like to make.
Okay, Commissioner Vogel, I believe you have presented a motion to go forward with a vote for this item.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. We'll go for the roll call vote.
Barry,
Aye.
Benton.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
Hamilton.
Aye.
Hart.
No.
Haynes. Haynes.
Yes.
I believe that was a yes.
Haynes, was that a yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Ramon.
Yes.
Thomas.
No.
Vickers.
Aye.
Vogel.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate
Chair, if I may, I appreciate the time that's been given. I would like to plead with city staff and with the developer and with other property owners, before we start moving dirt and things start flying, there is a way that we can work through this. And I wish we would have had this deferred to where we could have worked through a solution, but I would really plead with the developer and with other property owners in the area to come together and figure this out, because I think there's a way that we can do this. And unfortunately, this action today could preclude that from happening. Thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate those comments, and I'm hoping that the developer did hear those, and in the spirit that it was presented, if that should take place. Certainly, any development in an existing area, I think it is wise that all parties do try to come to as much of an agreement. So I do hope that that will occur. Okay, let's see. The next item we have is item number 7.
Correct.
Z9585.
Next item is item number 7, the Rosemary Villas at Chenal, PRD, probably located northwest of the northwest corner of Rawling Road and Canis Road. The applicant proposes to rezone the 37-acre property located near the northwest corner of the Canis Road, Rawling Road intersection from R2 Single Family District to PRD Planned Residential District. The rezoning is proposed to allow a 219-unit multifamily development as a gated community and an independent living facility for persons aged 55 and over. All of the proposed residential units will be rental. The applicant proposes to construct the 219 units in 4 phases. Phase 1 will be 52 units in the clubhouse facilities and associated parking area. Phase 2 will be 66 units. Phase 3, 57 units, and Phase 4, 44 units. The proposed residential units will consist of 1-story and 2-story structures and will range in size from 1,600 to 2,000 square feet. There'll be several sizes of structures. There'll be a 1-story duplex structure, a 1-story triplex, a 1-story quadplex, and a 2-story duplex. The building heights will not exceed 35 feet. The applicant provided the following description of the proposed structures. The exterior of the buildings will be painted brick, natural stone, hardy board, and plaster. The roofs will be architectural shingles, and the windows, fascia, and soffits will be vinyl. The applicant provided this additional information with regard to the development. This development will include a 16,500 square foot clubhouse with swimming pool, hot tub, fitness center, putting green, fire pits, several gazebos, and a mile of sidewalks and alternate pedestrian paths. The site will be accessed via a driveway with a median from Rawling Road across commonly owned property. The driveway will be gated with a guardhouse. There'll be ample area for turnaround prior to reaching the gate portion of the driveway. The applicant is proposing 2 monuments type signs at the entry drive from Rawling Road. The maximum height of signs will be 6 feet with a maximum area of 32 square feet. The signs must be located at least 5 feet back from any property line. The proposed project will include a 6-foot high perimeter fence around the entire site. The fence will be wrought iron construction with rock columns. In addition, there'll be 6-foot high wood fences behind the individual residential units. The applicant notes that the project will comply with the city's minimum landscape and buffer ordinance requirements. All site lighting must be low level and directed away from adjacent properties. City of Little Rock trash collection will be utilized for this project. The applicant has indicated that a waiver of damage claims form for operations on private property will be signed. The applicant also notes that they are working with the U.S. Postal Service on the proposed cluster mailbox locations within the gated project. The applicant notes that the cluster mailbox units will be constructed in conformance with the U.S. Postal Service and the City of Little Rock design standards and will be ADA accessible. The applicant is requesting 3 variances with the proposed application. The first variance is a request to utilize pedestrian paths in combination with sidewalks throughout this site. Staff does support this variance. subject to all pedestrian paths being paved with ADA accessible with paved access to the paths. Second variance is from section 29-190 of the code. This section allows slopes within the development steeper than 3 and 1 with required terracing. The applicant is requesting to have slopes within certain areas of the site which will exceed 3 to 1 and have no terracing, basically along the Canis Road section. Staff supports the requested variance subject to a slope stability analysis for all property slopes exceeding 3 to 1 prior to the issuance of a grading permit for the project. The last variance is to allow grading of the entire site with phase 1 grading. Staff also supports this advanced grading request based on the varying degrees of slope throughout the site and the need to balance cut and fill quantities. In the staff report, we did notice at the time of the report, we had several outstanding issues. These are all engineering type issues. They've all been resolved prior to today's meeting. And I believe either Mr. Florian or Mr. Hood will go over those with us.
Okay. Is the applicant present?
No.
Or
We need to continue with engineering.
Oh,
They
that's
will go over all of the
Gotcha.
outstanding issues and then we'll give a recommendation.
okay. Great. I'm sorry. Okay.
I assume it will be me for Mike Hood, just to help him read these issues, our responses for the engineering issues. So at the time of writing the agenda staff report, staff recommended denial of the application due to several civil engineering items being outstanding and not sufficiently addressed. Since the writing, those insufficiencies have been addressed and no outstanding items remain. The Little Rock Fire Marshal has approved a concrete or asphalt secondary emergency access from Canis Road to the site with up to 11% running slope. A slope transition from Canis Road to the emergency access must be constructed to prevent dragging by emergency vehicles. The applicant has agreed that no portion of the remaining walls will extend beyond the property, and the geotechnical report prepared by a licensed geotech engineer will be provided for all slopes that exceed 3 to 1. Vertical cut terraces will not exceed 10 feet in height. The applicant has agreed that on-site stormwater detention will be provided under the clubhouse parking lot to detain stormwater in conformance with the City of Little Rock Stormwater Management and Drainage Manual. A written letter of support has been provided by Central Arkansas Water for excavation and construction to occur within the Central Arkansas Water Lake Winona Road water line easement following approval of submitted plans. The applicant has provided a sketch grading and drainage plan showing the delineation of stormwater runoff from site improvements to the installed to drain stormwater and on the rear within the existing culvert in front of Neil Gordon property to the creek to the east. Lastly, the applicant has agreed to make street improvements on Canis Road, complying with the master street plan standards adjacent to subject property at the time of construction of phase 2 and 3 of the development.
Mr. Chair, with the resolution of these issues, staff now recommends approval of the requested PRD zoning, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D, E, and F, and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report, and the resolution of the outstanding issues as presented.
Okay. Thank you. And with that, is the applicant present? You will approach the podium and state your name and share with us your thoughts on the project.
Chairman, my name is Tim Daters. I'm a consulting engineer with White Daters and Associates. Randy Alberius is the developer and the behind this project, and his development team is with him. He's also seated in the office. We're excited about this job. It's going to be a senior community. It's going to become part of the Chenal Valley development, regulated by the same POA that regulates development in Chenal Valley. So I think it's a good addition to the neighborhood. It's senior housing. It's what the market is screaming for right now. And we'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay. Let's see. We're not showing any cards in opposition, and I don't believe we have any that are virtual.
No.
Okay.
And I would like to thank staff for working with us on this application.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, commissioners, Any thoughts, questions, or comments on this particular project?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion for approval with no opposition.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and second. Take it to vote.
Barry,
Aye.
Benton. Aye. Brooks. Brooks. Hamilton,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Ramon,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Vickers,
Aye.
Vogel,
Yes.
And we maybe come back to Brooks. I think he's back.
Derek Brooks,
Aye.
Okay.
motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, next item we have is item number 8, which is LA 0092.
Mr. Chair, items 8 and 9 were put on the regular agenda because they were associated items with item 7.
Okay.
Unless anyone has an issue, we can just go to staff recommendation on that. This is, item 8 is the Cypress Bend Properties Advanced Grading Variance, northwest corner of Rawling Road and Canis Road. And I'll just read the staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the advanced grading variance request, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions in paragraph D of the agenda staff report. In addition to comments in paragraph D, the variance request is subject to compliance with the following conditions. A grading permit in accordance with section 29186C and D will be required prior to any land clearing or grading activities at the site. Alteration of the water course will require approval of the Little Rock District of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers prior to start of work. A minimum strip 25 feet wide, undisturbed, except for reasonable access, will be provided along each side of this stream unless permitted to the contrary by the U.S. COE. Erosion and sediment controls are required to be installed and maintained prior to commencement and during the clearing and filling activities. And on-site, temporary stormwater detention is required to be provided if the use of the Chenal Valley Regional Detention Facility is not permitted.
Any comments from commissioners?
You need a motion to approve that?
That's, no, that's your motion, just in case.
I
Move.
so move.
Okay. Motion, about a second.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Can we get a vote?
Barry,
Aye.
Benton. Aye. Brooks,
Aye.
Hamilton.
Aye.
Hart,
Aye.
Haynes,
Aye.
Ramon,
Pardon me. Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Vickers,
Aye.
Vogel,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, item 9, A-339.
Item number 9 is the proposed annexation of this subject property, and staff does recommend approval of that.
Okay. Motion, any comments or questions?
I'm, just for my own interest, what role does the planning commission have in a judge-approved annexation of property?
Lots.
The city of Little Rock has requested the planning commission to make a recommendation. If you may have a recommendation of denial, this would still go on to the board of directors. So no matter what, so your recommendation would just be forwarded on to our elected body. By state law, it's up to the elected body to determine whether or not to accept or not an annexation.
That makes more sense. I move that we accept the that we approve item number 9 with all staff conditions and comments, including the recommendation of approval.
Okay, how about a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Barry,
Aye.
Benton. Aye. Brooks. Brooks,
Aye.
Hamilton,
Aye.
Hart,
Aye.
Haynes,
Aye.
Ramon. Aye. Thomas,
Aye.
Vickers,
Aye.
Vogel. Motion carries.
Okay, I believe that is the final item that we have on our agenda. Any citizens' comments by chance this evening? Okay, hearing none, I think we've got a few minutes that the department director wants to share some information with us.
Yeah, I just wanted to let the commission know that Mr. Tim Herndon, this will be his final commission hearing. He has served the city well in the time. He has chose to go a different path in his life and career at this time. His last day with the city will be next Friday, I believe, and he'll be packing up, and we wish him the best. So I just wanted to make that announcement to the commission. And please, if you have an opportunity, thank him for his service with the city and help with the planning commission.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Herndon. We certainly wish you well and appreciate your service here. And if you're moving somewhere exciting, please give us an invitation. We'll come visit.
Fabulous. I appreciate the kind words.
Absolutely. Okay. With any other business?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I have one quick question. Laundromat?
Yeah, that.
Too late.
Okay.
One question. When does the traveling road show end? When will we get back to normal in the director's chambers?
Thank you.
Well, let's see, this is through August, and primarily because of which is a great thing. The Robinson Center was needing the rooms where it was meeting at, so that's a good thing to come out. The whole plan is that I didn't believe for our size that we was going to go back to the boardroom. At this time, we were setting up stuff to be set over at the center at University. But also about that same time we setting those up, UAMS was needing it for the vaccinations. And so they will be ending that contract, I believe, end of July, beginning of August timeframe. So at some point in time, we will be moving over to that location. But we'll believe it will be here through August.
Wait,
So,
where's that location?
That's the center at University, just off of 12th Street, just west of University.
Senior Center.
Used to be the senior center. We'll redone that building. It's over by the Resmond tennis courts, is just to the south of it. So the setup will be over there. That's where we'll be after our tenure here. We will go to that location and then we'll be there until such time we go back to the boardroom, and that may be a while. So that will be our permanent location. We will follow the board just because of the size of our commission and the applications that come before us.
So it's up to the mayor and the board as to when City Hall is open.
Yes, and like I said, just due to the size, I do have some that are meeting in the boardroom, but they're smaller board commissions. But just for our size, we need to follow where the board goes just for the setup.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. If no further comments, questions, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
All right.